What is up, Insaners, and welcome to our Game Week 24 team selection video. In today's video, we'll review our Game Week 23 team and discuss the hits and misses of the week. Next week is going to be a pretty interesting one with double games for a few teams, and we'll talk about our transfer strategy and some of the best captain picks for Game Week 24. We also have a section dedicated to chip strategy in terms of using a wildcard, bench boost chip, or even a free hit, so make sure you check that out as well. As always, if you're new around here, subscribe to the channel. A massive shout out to all the people who have subscribed so far. It gives us a lot of motivation to get more of these videos out on a weekly basis. Do hit the like button if you like today's video. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter. The links to all our socials are in the description below. So let's get into it then. It was a decent week for us. We scored 70 points with a small green arrow, and we've got to around 190k. We are still around the top 2% mark all across the world, so that's a good thing, and we hope to have a solid team for the double game week 24 and to reach near 150k. Coming to our team, Martinez had a difficult game against West Ham, committing a couple of errors in midweek, but he looked pumped up against his former club. The Argentinian was quick to come out to stop Saka, while moments later sprung into action to deny ex-teammate Granit Xhaka, who bent a free kick towards Martinez's top left corner. He showcased his bravery just after the hour mark as a strong hand stopped Aubameyang at close range after Pepe's dangerous ball in. His best save though came from Pepe after his strike took a deflection off Konsa. A really inspired showing. He was pumped up for this one and definitely back to his best. Another week where he did his job for us and is surely making a case to start ahead of Nick Pope in spite of the latter having a double game week. This was another game week where we played a 3-man defense, and let's start with the highlight fixture of the week, Liverpool vs Man City. We had two defenders from Man City, Ruben Dias and John Stones, but we only played one, fearing that Liverpool and Salah would score. We finally went ahead with Ruben Dias, who was at his imperious best for the first hour of the game, coolly cutting out a counter-attack from Jones, but then he fluffed an interception and then pulled Salah down for the penalty which pulled Liverpool level. That move also earned him a yellow card, and with Salah scoring, he managed to score only a single point from the game. It could have been a costly mistake if City's attack and Alisson's errors had not helped turn it around. We definitely think that it was the right move not to play the double City defense against Liverpool. Our other two defenders had a better showing though. Starting with Soufal, he's an excellent defensive fullback and was up against the quick Ademola Lookman. To be fair to him, he did a good job keeping up with the fast wide man. He also came very close to opening his Hammers account but hit the bar with his header. Overall, he maintained a solid defensive shape at the back and created a decent chance in the Fulham half. He got 6 points for his clean sheet, but we surely thought that West Ham would have a much easier game than they actually managed against Fulham. Moving on to the top defender for yet another week, James Justin. He scored 9 points in the game against Wolves, including a clean sheet and 3 bonus points. He was also handed a huge test in keeping try required. Justin more than matched him in the first half, while he produced a vital block to stop him scoring early on. Justin suffered when he was isolated a lot of the time, but after Neto was substituted, the Foxes doubled up on that side and ensured that the Spaniard wouldn't get his first goal contribution of the season. A great defensive performance and surely one of our best players over the past few weeks. We switched to a midfield 5 this week. Mo Salah is the most expensive player in our side, and he kind of looked a danger early on, yet he wasn't. More often than not, the pass into him was slow and sloppy, and other times because his own touch took him away from the goal. He was definitely in the game, as Jurgen says, working to get into good positions or win back possession, but nothing of note fell his way. So with things not going his way, what does he do? He makes the goal himself. He won the ball, won the foul, and buried the penalty. That Salah goal gave us 7 points, and though it wiped City's clean sheet, but on the balance, a decent score from the Egyptian. Coming to another of our midfielders from the same game, Ilkay Gundogan. He had a bit of everything in the game against Liverpool. After the awful penalty miss in the first half, Gundogan's delight at redeeming himself with his close-range double was plain to see. He suffered an early injury when fouled from behind by Thiago and seemed subdued in the first period, but he was back to his old self after the break. He demonstrated his newfound eye for goal, scoring 2 in the game and getting a massive 13-point haul along with 3 bonus points in spite of missing a penalty early on in the game. It's just getting to the point of crazy with him, giving such returns priced at only 6 million in the game. A must-have for the double game week next week. Jack Grealish was always menacing and at times had 3 Arsenal bodies around him. He was given a ticking off by the referee for some theatrics before halftime, while after the break, he broke quickly before slipping in Barkley. He had an effort saved well from Ryan in the second half, with Villa doing so much defending. Not at his scintillating best, but threatening enough though. His yellow card just before the game was a bit frustrating, but an attacking blank from the Villa midfielder made him the lowest scoring player in our midfield. Our fourth midfielder was Bruno Fernandes. His Man United stint has often been typified by his tendency to search for the first-time passes and losing the ball as a result. Against Everton though, the Portuguese was more steady with his passing, yet managed 3 key passes. The standout moment though was the moment of brilliance that saw him score an absolute world-class goal late in the first half, curling it back post with an unbelievable precision. He created well, but he also knew when to serve as a decoy and draw multiple defenders. He linked up well with Edinson Cavani, and the United midfielder had an excellent game, giving us 7 points. Our final midfielder was Rafinha, the biggest differential in our squad. Only owned by around 2% FPL managers, he had a lot of early success with his pressing. As good a piece of skill as you will see to beat Gary Cahill, he put in several excellent crosses from set pieces in the first half, a threat every time he touched the ball in the first half. His shot was the one that was saved before Bamford's follow-up to make it 2-0. Easily Leeds' best player on the pitch and is already looking like a bargain at that price and extremely low ownership. He will surely be a popular pick heading into the Leeds double game week. In terms of our attack, we had 2 forwards playing for us this week. First, coming to our captain punt, Mikel Antonio. A blank against Fulham was something no manager would have expected heading into the Fulham game. Not his best match, he found it really hard to get involved. There were no chances that came his way and he saw very little of the ball. A very non-Antonio-like performance, and Fulham defenders deserve huge credit as they were able to keep him quiet throughout the game. Our punt failed badly as he only gave us 2 points and 4 as our captain. Our second striker, Patrick Bamford, had a much better game. He had a good header saved early on, skied a great chance when through on goal that he made himself. His movement caused a lot of problems early on, finished calmly on the rebound to make it 2-0 in the second half. Later on in the game, he dropped in well, both to chase back and to give a passing option as Leeds played the game down. 6 points for the Leeds striker, as always could have easily managed a brace, but we are happy that his contribution along with Rafinha helped us get that green arrow. This was a week where a lot of managers had the Leeds defenders and the likes of Gundogan, Foden and DCL on the bench. We too had Dallas and DCL on as substitutes. Disappointed that there were so many points left on the bench, but both of these players were never a part of our plans. Antonio captain would hurt a bit, and it was a close call between him and the much safer option Bruno Fernandes. Nonetheless, 70 points is a decent score this week. Now let's get into the double game week preparation by talking about the fixtures first. We'll talk about the teams who have a double game week first and their fixtures, and then move on to the remaining fixtures. Burnley have their first game against Crystal Palace away. They put in a decent attacking performance but could only manage a draw in their game against Brighton and would look to return to winning ways. Palace without Zaha would also look to improve on their performance against Leeds and get a win against Sean Dyche's men. Burnley then have their second game against Fulham, who put in a spirited performance against West Ham but are without a win in their last 5 games. Fulham are the second team to have a double game week and are also playing Everton at Goodison Park. Everton are at the opposite end of the table in 7th place right now on 37 points. Surely they would expect to get a result against Fulham. Their second fixture though is going to be quite tricky, facing the league leaders Man City. Man City swept away the current Premier League champions Liverpool 4-1 at Anfield, and though they have a couple of tricky fixtures against Tottenham and Everton, they would fancy their chances considering the form they are in right now. The Citizens have collected maximum points in the last 10 Premier League games, keeping 8 clean sheets and conceding only to the likes of Chelsea and Liverpool. Tottenham will look to break that record, considering the return of their star forward Harry Kane back from injury. They've looked short of ideas and quality in attack, and Mourinho would surely expect his players to give their all after losing thrice in their last 5 games. In some other fixtures, 3rd place Leicester take on Liverpool, who would look to correct their patchy form, losing 3 of their last 5 games. The current Premier League champions are struggling in 4th place at the moment, only a point ahead of Chelsea and West Ham United. Leicester on the other hand have struggled at home this season, losing 5 of their 11 games, but with Vardy back, this is going to be a very interesting game. Brighton take on Aston Villa at the Amex Stadium. The Seagulls have kept 4 clean sheets in the last 5 games and have looked good defensively. They've played better than what their league position reflects right now and would look to move further away from the relegation scrap. Aston Villa won their last game against Arsenal and could jump ahead of the likes of Everton and Tottenham with the win in this game. The next game is between Southampton and Wolves. Southampton have the worst current form among all Premier League teams, losing all of their last 5 games. Few controversial VAR calls and referee decisions have made it even more difficult for the Saints. They play Wolves, who are struggling to cope up without Raul Jimenez, winning only 7 of their total Premier League games so far this season. They're also the 5th lowest scorers and would look to take advantage of Saints' poor form. West Brom have a tough game against the 2nd place Manchester United, who threw away a win in the dying moments of the match against Everton. West Brom also have the worst defensive numbers, conceding 54 goals this season, and would be wary of a United attack, which has scored the most goals in the league so far. Man United would hope to win this game and apply some pressure at the top, with City playing twice this week. Mikel Arteta's Arsenal faces an attacking Leeds side and are probably having one of their worst seasons in the Premier League. They're currently lying outside the top half of the table, a point behind Leeds, but Bielsa's team have a game in hand against the Gunners. Leeds United continue to be one of the most exciting teams in the Premier League this season and would look to get a result and push themselves further up the table. West Ham United face the bottom team Sheffield United at home. The Hammers have looked really impressive this term and are surely aiming to play in Europe next season. It'll be a great achievement for David Moyes and his team if they could manage to finish ahead of the likes of Chelsea, Everton and Spurs. Sheffield United have completely different ambitions and they're fighting really hard to stay in the league. Their performances have improved considerably and every match is like a must-win game for Chris Wilder's side. Chelsea's new manager Tuchel faces Newcastle United, who put in an improved performance against Southampton. Steve Bruce has come under a lot of criticism for the way he's handling things at Newcastle, and a good result against Chelsea would ease some of the pressure off the Newcastle boss. Chelsea are unbeaten under Tuchel and would want to continue their good form under the new boss. In terms of the fixtures and teams to target, Burnley have a couple of decent fixtures against Crystal Palace and Fulham. There's some good options from a defensive point of view, with Nick Pope being a great option in goal, along with Ben Mee and Loughton in defense. Man City have a couple of tricky fixtures, but their assets are hard to ignore at the moment. Lots of players to choose from. Ruben Dias, John Stones and Joao Cancelo are good options in defense, along with Gundogan, Sterling and Phil Foden in midfield. Man United assets are also looking good this week against a poor West Brom defense. The standard options being Luke Shaw and Wan-Bissaka in defense, Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford in midfield, and Edinson Cavani among forwards. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is facing Man City, but the other game against Fulham could be promising. Some other good options include the Hammers players like Soufal, Cresswell, Soucek and Antonio against Sheffield United. Coming to our team selection for the next game week, we have our team set up and looking in decent shape for the next 2 game weeks. We have a free transfer and 6.1 million left in the bank to play with. Now we gave a lot of thought to the keeper position, whether to get Nick Pope in either for Martinez or as a second keeper. So if we get Pope, we'll have 2 regular playing keepers where we can only play 1. Pope will also cost us 1.5 million more than the filler Fulham keeper on our bench. It probably isn't the wisest move for our team, as Martinez has decent fixtures, plus he's giving us safe points and good returns. Another thing is that if we get in Pope, our money in the bank would reduce to 4.5 million and it leaves us with the exact money to get in Kane next week, which is not ideal. In case Kane's price rises, it'll be difficult to afford him and would probably cost us an additional transfer. So definitely no changes in goal there, with Martinez starting against Brighton, who are a better defensive team than attack. There are chances that Martinez could keep a clean sheet as well, and to be very honest, there's no guarantee that Pope would keep a clean sheet in both games. Fulham did really well against West Ham, so chances are that they might score. Crystal Palace, the second team Burnley are facing, look pretty bad against Leeds and would probably not score against them. Overall, this looks okay. We can cover the risk of not having Pope with the Burnley defender, which we'll come to in some time. This week as well, we are mostly playing a back 3. Right now we've gone ahead with the double Man City defenders, Ruben Dias and John Stones. We don't have Cancelo, who's definitely a better attacking threat than these two. To be very honest, there's no guarantee that all 3 of these defenders would start both games. Pep might want to switch things, especially with Laporte in the mix, but surely both of these players would at least play 1 game each. Also from a clean sheet point of view, City looks like the best team, so we're starting with both. Our third defender is a lot more trickier to choose this week. Our current options are Soufal, Justin and Dallas. Out of these 3, Soufal is probably the best option this week. He's playing against Sheffield United, who don't look like that they will concede 4 or 5 like West Brom, but obviously haven't scored a lot of goals this season. Justin could have a difficult game against Salah and Liverpool. Though Liverpool are not in great touch, they're still very much capable of scoring, and Salah could be on the score sheet. This also means that Justin might not be able to go forward a lot and is probably the least appealing option in defense this week. Stuart Dallas has done well for us for most of the season and is facing Arsenal, who are struggling in the league but haven't conceded a lot of goals, and this might be no different. Seeing how open Leeds are, it's difficult to see Arsenal not scoring here, and Leeds generally don't keep a lot of clean sheets. So in terms of all these options, probably Soufal might be our best shout this week. In midfield, we are going ahead with 4 this week. Most probably there are no changes in midfield in terms of incoming transfers. Gundogan is surely a must-have for anyone who's looking to have a City attacker. He has better numbers than Raheem Sterling over the past 5 game weeks in terms of goal attempts, chances created, expected goals and expected assists. He's also more a short starter than Sterling. In case you have the money to spend and would like to go a bit differential, then take a punt on Sterling. Our next player is Bruno Fernandes. Absolutely nailed on against West Brom away from home, Bruno is another player who looks essential for this week. West Brom's defense is leaking goals, and Fernandes is expected to score some good fantasy points this week. He has 2 goals and 3 assists in his last 5 games, scoring 39 points, and these stats could only get better against West Brom. Mo Salah is our third midfielder. He's also nailed on against Leicester. He's not scoring huge points but offers good potential against a Leicester side at home. His next set of fixtures are also promising, so we are surely keeping him in our team at the moment. Salah's goal threat has also increased in the last 3 game weeks and has the highest expected goals among all midfielders in the same duration. Then we have Aston midfielder Jack Grealish. He has been one of the most creative midfielders in the Premier League this season. He has created 20 chances in the last 5 game weeks, scoring a goal and providing 3 assists. Now Brighton might not be as straightforward as a lot might think. They don't concede a lot of chances, but Grealish still possesses the ability to break down any defense. In attack, we are playing 3 forwards, going ahead with Bamford, Antonio and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Bamford is surely undroppable at that value. He has been quietly returning points and can score against Arsenal. Antonio has probably the easiest fixture out of the 3, but it'll be interesting to see his minutes on the pitch against Man United in the FA Cup. That'll surely help us understand whether he will start against Sheffield United. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is a tricky one. He has a good game against Fulham, but then scoring against that Man City defense is going to be very challenging. The double game week definitely gives us more chances for DCL points, and we'll go ahead with that. In terms of our transfers this week, we're surely looking at players who have a double game week, and we have already 4 players right now. 3 of them are from Man City and 1 from Everton. The only other side that can give decent points is Burnley, and that is the thinking we have in terms of our transfers. Not looking at other players like Rodriguez or Lucas Dean. It is not that they are not good players, but there are better options available in our team in spite of Everton having a double game week. Burnley also don't score a lot of goals, so there are no options in midfield or attack from them. Fulham also don't have any appealing options either. You could play Areola or Lookman if you already own them, but personally wouldn't want to get them this week. We would most probably be doing either Loughton or Ben Mee from Burnley to play him as a third defender in place of Soufal. That is definitely taking a huge chance on the West Ham defender not doing well against the bottom team Sheffield United. But even if a Burnley defender is able to keep 1 clean sheet, it would result in a rank boost as their ownership is even lower than Soufal at the moment. This transfer also sets us nicely for a single or double Spurs option next week. The extra money would help us replace Antonio and probably Grealish for Kane and Son. Obviously things would get more clear in the coming weeks with regards to the double and blank game weeks, but right now this seems like the best approach for our team. Coming to chip strategy, there are a couple of strategies that you can go for. Again, it depends on your team, what kind of players you have, and what are the chips that you have left with you. So if you've already used your bench boost, second wildcard, triple captain or even free hit, you won't be able to use these and you'll have to alter your strategy a bit. So one thing we know for certain is that Game Week 26 is going to be a huge double game week with lots of teams playing 2 games, and 29 will be a big blank game week. There might be these small blanks and doubles too after Game Week 25, but we don't need to worry about those right now. So strategy 1 or the option 1 is to use a triple captain or bench boost chip in the big double game week 26. You prepare for game week 26 by making transfers and take hits if you feel they're going to be beneficial. This allows you to play your free hit if you still have the chip in game week 29 and prepare for the blank. You can then clear all the deadwood in your team using a wildcard in game week 30 and prepare a team that you can use till the end of the season. Second option is that you play your wildcard in game week 25, get in all the double game week players, and then play your bench boost or triple captain chip in game week 26. This helps you prepare a team a week earlier and get 15 double game weekers if you have a bench boost available. Let's say if you don't have a bench boost, then probably get in good 11 double game week players in your team and play the triple captain chip instead. Now some of you might not even have your second wildcard available with you. If that's the case, and if you have your free hit available, then using them in a double game week makes more sense as it'll at least give you 11 players who are playing twice. If you're thinking of using a free hit in game week 29, you'll probably only get 11 players playing a single game week, which might not be ideal. So in that case, you'll probably have to prepare your game week 29, making a few transfers, probably even taking a few hits. There's not really a straightforward answer in terms of which strategy is better. It totally depends on your team and what chips you have left. Now coming to some captaincy options, there are some really good single and double game week options this week. The best single game week option is probably Bruno Fernandes. The Portuguese midfielder is in fine form this season. He scored 11 points in the reverse fixture and can get a double-digit haul against West Brom, who have conceded a lot of goals so far. With Pogba also out, the creative impetus would lie on Fernandes, something that he excels at. Now there are a couple of decent double game week options as well in Raheem Sterling and Ilkay Gundogan. Both are top in terms of attacking stats in the last 5 game weeks. Sterling might be a differential captain this week as he's owned by only 12% of FPL managers in the game. Both fixtures are a bit tricky, but Man City will be high in confidence after putting 4 past against the current Premier League champions. So if you own Sterling and are okay risking it a bit, Sterling could prove to be a huge differential in your team. In some other alternate options, we've got Marcus Rashford against West Brom. He looked good in his last game and has done well over the past 2 weeks. Like Sterling, Rashford also has a differential ownership among the premiums and has a great chance of outscoring the double game week Man City players. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is a second alternate captain's choice. Now a lot of FPL managers might have a different opinion about this, but Calvert-Lewin looks to be in fine touch and the match against Fulham certainly looks promising. Man City will be tough though, but he can still score, making him a good alternate candidate for captaincy. We also have Joao Cancelo from Man City. There is a bit of risk in terms of rotation, considering both games are within a week, but Man City defenders don't look like they'll concede a goal against any team. The last 2 goals conceded against Liverpool and Chelsea also have been lucky goals for their rivals and could have been avoided. Cancelo also represents the best attacking threat among all City defenders. His ability to create chances for his City teammates makes him even more desirable for the captain's armband. That'll be all for this episode, guys. Hope you'll find all this information useful in planning your team and transfers for the double game week 24. Do hit the like button if you liked today's video. Make sure to subscribe to our channel Insanely Football. We also made a video on game week 24 and 25 transfer strategy a few days back, so do remember to check that out as well. You can find a link to that in the description below as well as at the end of this video. All the best to all the FPL managers this week. Enjoy your week and I'll see you Insaners next time.